welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so welcome to part 3, the final part of ArchieLuxury's collection review. This is going to be my favorite part where we talk about his 5 Rolexes. And so in honor of that, I have broken out a piece of Watch Symposium memorabilia. Now, I have no mustache or mullet, but if you guys have seen my earlier videos, then you might recognize this piece of clothing I'm wearing. And I feel like I should say something nasty about Squale right now while I have it on. All right, so let's get into Archie's Rolexes. And first of all, he's got 5 Rolexes. All right, he's got a Milgauss, an Explorer 2, a Daytona, and a Sub. And the Pontiff himself advises steel professional Rolexes, and that's great advice. I'm going to go one better. Steel professional rotating and or informational bezeled Rolexes, because when you have steel professional Rolexes, I mean, there's a top tier to those, and those are the ones with the rotating or informational bezels. So I'm talking about the Explorer 2, the Sub, the Yachtmaster, the Deep Sea, the Sea Dweller, and the Daytona. And those are sort of the cream of the crop. They're the best of the best. And let's look, what does Archie have that falls into that top tier steel sports watch category? He's got the Explorer 2. And Explorer 2 is an awesome watch. I have one myself. Love the white dial. His is 2003 or later piece, I want to say, because it's got the Superluminova, solid in links, and the no holes case. Now, I prefer the holes cases, not for the vintage look, though it's not something I mind, but more for the functionality and the ease of taking off and putting on the bracelet and changing straps and whatnot. And it's not so much taking off the bracelet, but making sure that you have those spring bars seated correctly, because having that visual confirmation just sort of gives you some peace of mind. The idea of do I have that spring bar in the hole? I've missed it a few times on other watches, and having your watch come off can be a bit unnerving. So having that visual confirmation is kind of nice, and so that's sort of why I like the functionality of a holes case. They're a little cheaper as well, so you get added functionality for a cheaper price. So I think that's a win. But a lot of people would say that the no holes case is the way to go, and that's sort of the top tier right there, the sweetest of the sweet spot. And certainly in Japan, I think so. I think the aesthetic of the no holes cases, I think, are more popular here. And so in that sense, he's got a really good piece, a really good Explorer 2. Now, if you're getting really picky, it's always nice to think about those later, say like M serial, or I want to say late Z serials that have the 3186 movements. They're something to have. Quite a 3186 movement has the blue parachrome spring as opposed to the, I guess, non-parachrome spring, like what's in the 3185 movement, which is in my Explorer 2 and both my GMTs. And that newer movement is sort of a grail for many people, is very collectible. In fact, I've got a viewer that got a great price on 3186 movement Explorer 2. And I tell you, if you can find a 3186 movement GMT Master 2, they didn't make many of those, and so that'll add, I think, about $4,000 to, $4,000, at least $4,000, I'll put it that way. Some people really try to scalp you with the 3186 movement GMTs, so they're sort of the top of the top. But anyway, I think I just went off on a tangent, didn't I? All right, back to Archie. So yeah, he's got that Explorer 2, and that fits nicely in that top of the top tier. Now, let's talk about that top tier of all steel professional informational bezel Rolexes. So within that top tier, there's sort of a hierarchy, and let's go through it. So the worst of the best would be the Explorer 2. It's the cheapest and the most economical right now. And will it go up in the future? I don't know. Some people think so. Some people think it won't. I think the sort of the sub and the GMT aesthetic looks better. I think it's more popular. I think it's more iconic. Those are more iconic pieces. So, 20 years down the road, I think the GMT and the sub are going to be good bets. But the Explorer 2, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would have to say maybe not. Okay, I don't think, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, just because I don't think they're quite like iconic in the same way the sub and the GMT aesthetic is. Those are the father of many dive watches, right? And the sub is, and really the sub and the GMT look they're very similar. So you've got in that top tier, you've got the the Explorer 2. Okay, that's sort of the, like, again, it's the worst of that best top tier. And then I would say the Yachtmaster, maybe about the same. Maybe the Yachtmaster's a little bit more desirable. And then you've got, the date subs and the no date subs. And I would say maybe the no date subs, pre-ceramic. Well, yeah, I'll let you guys debate that, but you got the subs here. And then you got the Sea Dwellers and the Deep Sea, which I think a lot of people like it, but it's a huge watch, and I'm not into the aesthetic, but it's a pretty amazing watch, and it's definitely like one of these top tier watches. And then the top of the top, the best of the best would be the GMT and the Daytona. And so that's sort of the ranking of those. Now, of his 5, he's got one in that sort of top tier professional steel, informational bezeled, or rotating / informational bezel tier. Okay, he's got the Explorer 2. And so, yeah, that's great. Good. Now, he's had that for a while, and look, it's easy to go back and say, you should have done this and you should have done that. You're talking to a guy that spent probably way too much money recently on GMT Master 2. And so if you're going to play the shoulda game, then, well, I'm living in a glass house here, because I should have picked up that 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago, all right? So the whole shoulda thing maybe is not some place we should go, but I will say that while the Explorer 2 has gone up recently by a couple thousand, I want to say, the GMT Master 2 has gone up more. Okay, so back when Archie and then later I got the Explorer 2, even though it was a deal compared to the GMT Master 2, you would have been better off at that time to buy a GMT Master 2. But live and learn, right? Live and learn, and you can't go back in the past. And I certainly know that if I could, I would have bought my most recent GMT much earlier. Okay, so should Archie have bought the GMT instead of the Explorer 2? Well, again, I mean, it's not fair, 2020 hindsight, and it's unfair for me to say that he should have, but probably he should have. But he loves that aesthetic, and I'm looking at it purely from a monetary point of view, right? And so. It's a fantastic watch, and he loves the aesthetic, and I agree. I think the white dialed is the one to have. that's a very special watch in the sense that, you know, there are not many white dialed Rolex professional steel models, are there? I mean, I can't really think of any others. Well, I guess the Milgauss, right? But again, that's not in that top tier. So it is an amazing watch, and it's very usable, and I love that watch. And he's got a great version, and that's probably one of my favorite Rolexes of his. Okay, now let's talk about his other steel professional model watches, and that's the Milgauss and the Explorer. And yeah, they're desirable, but they are not in that top tier. Okay, they've got the smooth bezels, and they're you know, hey, they're a heck of a lot better than, say, a two-tone Datejust or Oyster Perpetual or something like that. But they're not really in the same class as those informational bezel Rolex watches. And I don't think in the future either of those will really increase in price a lot. I think they'll hold their value, but I can't see them. You know, I think to quote Clyde, you know, all boats rise with the rising tide of these informational bezel Rolexes, and so as those go up, I think all of these steel sports Rolexes will go up to some extent, but I think you know, I don't think we're going to see those really take off in the future. And there's a heck of a lot of pre-owned Explorers on the market now. You can't really get those at the AD, but you see a lot of those on the pre-owned market, and yeah, I mean they're I think they're distinctly in that sort of second tier of the steel sports professional you know, Rolex models. You know, the Explorer, what can I say about it? Well, he's got a Mark 1 dial, so it's got the 369 in all gold, and then the shorter minute hand. Now, some people think that's going to be collectible. I don't know, maybe not, I'm not sure. I probably would have gone the Mark II dial, just because, you know, look, I'm a picky guy, and just a few millimeters on that minute hand would drive me crazy. But in 10 or 20 years, the sort of relatively short run of the Mark I dial could be a good thing. It might make it more collectible, and who knows. Now, I wouldn't pay more for it, but you don't know what people will do in the future, you know. So we'll see on that one. But I think the 36 millimeter Explorers, I think the proportions are better there. But I think for Archie's body type, I think 39 is the way to go. I think for me, I would go 36, and I think for most people, I think 36 looks better. But you know, bigger watches, some people think like it looks more masculine. I think, again, the 36 I think looks better, but I think for Archie the 39 is probably the way to go. Yeah, what can I say about the Explorer? I think it's I feel about the Explorer what a non-watch person probably thinks about a Rolex. Okay, you show a non-watch person a Rolex, and they say, that's a really good looking watch, and then you tell them the price, and they say, wow, I would never spend that kind of money on one. I mean, if I had that much money to blow, that's just not something I'd buy. It's just not worth it to me. And I feel the same way about the Explorer. It's a great watch, but I think it's kind of boring. Okay, and for that reason, if you're talking, you know, a couple $1,000s, you're ready to spend on a watch, it's just one of the last pieces I'd go for. But he has it because he had a it was a 1016, and that's sort of you know, in honor of his former 1016, and so I can see that. But I lean towards the Oyster Perpetuals, and a lot of people would say that the Explorer is the way to go, but I sort of look at the Oyster Perpetual 36 millimeter as or even the 34 millimeter, I guess, if you want to be really authentic, as sort of the real explorer. I mean, it was a perpetual that went to the summit of Mount Everest. So in a way, the Explorer is sort of a homage piece, in a way, right? And I mean, it's still a cool piece, but there's something kind of nice about just a straight up perpetual, and you get those beautiful dial colors, and I think that's what draws me to those. But there's something again, more sporty about the Explorer. It's got instead of the crown, it's got the triangle, and you've got the Mercedes hand. So I can see why people are drawn to it. But yeah, I probably would go Oyster Perpetual. But I don't think that's what Archie should have done. I think he wanted a replacement to that 1016, and I think he got it. And hopefully the Mark I dial will work in his favor. And Archie doesn't sweat the little things. He's not worried about a few millimeters on a minute hand, so he didn't care about stuff like that. And I think I would advise someone like him to you're not going to worry about those millimeters on the minute hand, so just go for the potential of collectability that the Mark I dial has. So that's a great watch, and you can use it in all situations, and it'll hold its value. So I think that's a great piece of his collection, but it's just not something I'll ever go for, just because it just doesn't turn me on, and I think they're kind of boring. All right, but still a great Rolex. Now, also in that sort of sub tier would be the Milgauss. Again, it's a professional model, but it's a smooth bezel, and I think the fact that he's got the black dial without the green sapphire crystal, yeah, I think that's nice. I think that's probably the best looking of the sort of modernish Milgausses. And my grandfather, who had the Hamilton, the Wedgfield, and the Timex, he worked on electrical transformers, like these huge things. And so whenever I see a Milgauss, I always think that would have been the perfect watch for him. And I wish he had gotten one for himself. Who knows? He wasn't into watches and stuff like that. But whenever I see a Milgauss, I think it was made for a guy like that. And my grandmother she grew up in the Depression, and so she was so frugal that there's no way she would have sanctioned that. But that's why you can't always check with the wife, right? But anyway, so I like the Milgauss, and it's a cool watch, and I think he's right in having the black dial. I think that's a discontinued version, and I think it's more desirable than the white with the orange indices, which I think is a really attractive watch. And I like the orange indices because they kind of look vintagey to me. But I gotta tell myself there's not the vintage thing going on. That's the orange color. But I think the black dialed is probably has more collector's potential, because I think all of the Milgausses now have that green tinted glass. That's sort of a Milgauss thing now with all the contemporary Milgausses. A Milgauss institution. That's the phrase I was looking for. So again, I think it'll probably hold its value. But again, I don't think, just like the Explorer, I don't think you're looking at massive increases in prices. Again, it's they don't have that sports watch look, okay? And it's that smooth bezel, and that's what keeps them from being in that top tier. And they are professional, I mean, no doubt about it, and they're desired, but distinctly less so than the informational rotating bezel watches, okay? All right, let's talk about the two-tones. So, all right, well, Archie used to say two-tones are soft, and so it's kind of surprising to see him go that route. But I think maybe he's in a period in his life when a two-tone might make sense. And what can I say about two-tones? Okay, let me just talk about two-tones and my feelings about two-tones for a second. All right, so there's functionality, okay, and you get the functionality of all steel, that lovely 904L steel, okay, that strength and that aesthetic. And then you've got something like an all gold sub. And so if you sort of want a little bit of the strength, but some of the bling, I can see going two-tone. But I'm more of an all or nothing guy. I'm going total bling, okay, or I'm going full functionality, all right? So, and for me, it's a no-brainer because I'm not partial to the aesthetic of gold and the lack of functionality and strength and the greater cost. So I'm steel all the way. I'm steel all the way. Now, I can see how having sort of the best of both worlds might make sense for some people, and I can see that. But the two-tone color can look gaudy, and that's one of the reasons that I dislike it. And yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. You get the strength, but also a bit of the bling. But for me, I kind of look at it as you sacrifice some of the strength for a little bit of gaudiness. Okay, so it's just sort of a perception thing. I think if you look at Archie in like the kind of the type of guy he is, he sort of looks like the gluttonous hedonist kind of guy that you would expect to have a two-tone, and it sort of works with his body style, and he doesn't look like he maybe is going to push the limits of an all steel sports watch. It doesn't really look like he's gonna take an all steel. He didn't look like he's gonna push the limits of his Explorer 2. All right, he gets winded walking around with his camera. So I don't think he needs the functionality, and I don't either. But I think certain people that who look less active, the two-tone all gold look fits. It's sort of that hedonistic, materialistic look of the guy that he looks like he enjoys life in all of its many forms, be it luxury or food or all of the pleasures that life have to offer. So the two-tone fits with Archie's overall look, perhaps much more so than an all steel piece. Now, a Daytona two-tone, they run for about 17,000 starting here in Japan. And it's only when you get up to about the 18,000 mark that you start to see the all steel pieces. So the all steel pieces are more desirable. And my guess is that Archie knows that, and I think he possibly got a great deal on that Daytona. I don't think he paid 16 for it. If he did pay 16 for it, then I would have advised to tack on another 2,000, which when you're talking that kind of money, $2,000 is like nothing, right? To get the all steel Daytona, right? Doesn't have to be the ceramic, but just a more lower priced steel bezeled Daytona. I think that's probably the way I would have gone. But he seems to like it, and so again it sort of fits with him, and it does have that sort of bling. And the older you get in life, the better gold looks. But two-tone works really well on the date just on an older gentleman, all right? But, you know, on tool watches, for me, it just sort of detracts from the look of a tool watch, right? And so yeah, it's just not quite something I would go for. But yeah, Archie's getting up there. Only about like 5 years ahead of me, but as you get older, I think you know that the two-tone sort of gold look works. You know, my dad, he's getting up there. He's in his 70s now, and he has a sort of a two-tone Weil. What is it? What is that? What does he have? Andrew Weil. Andrew Weil. Is that what it is? Okay. I'm sorry. I'll put a thing down. But you know, he would probably love the aesthetic of a two-tone date just, and I think I would love to see my dad have a two-tone date just. But he's pretty keen on this quartz the Weil watch of his, and it you know, he's not a watch guy, so it's fine. But so older guy with you know, a two-tone date just, I think is great. But again, if my dad were to say, well, what about the, you know, the sports model, I'd say, well, if you're gonna go sports, you can kind of, let's be pure about it, and let's get a steel piece, right? So yeah, my guess is that Archie probably got a deal on it, and I don't know, maybe he did search it out, but you know, if you're searching out a Daytona, I would go all steel, right? But you're gonna pay more for it, so you know, there's some people that just seems like a crazy proposition. Pay more for steel, or less, and you get the gold. Now, yeah, you get it, but you're going to get a less gaudy looking piece. I mean, what are you going to do in the future? Like melt it down? But again, I think people feel a little bit like it makes a little bit more sense paying less for gold, right? Anyway, it's got the Maserati blue dial, which you know, I think the gaudiness of two-tone calls for sort of a more subdued dial, so I'd probably go black or white dial. I think there's something classy about a black or white dialed Daytona, kind of classic, and so I think the Maserati is, and that's a lot of colors you're looking at there. So it's certainly eye-catching, but I think a black or a white dial would sort of temper that look. And it's more of a subdued blue. And you know, some people might like it. I think a beautiful blue is that sub, or ARCHIE'S solid gold sub, which had kind of a purpley dial to it. I mean, that's a blue that pops. And you know, there's sort of the subdued blues, and then you got that beautiful like bluesy sub blue, and now that's a heck of a dial color. And so if you're comparing those two tones, I think, yeah, they're both blue, but by far the sub dial is absolutely beautiful. And you know, again, it's a two-tone, and it's a later piece. It's one of the last runs. I want to say it's a V serial, and so Archie thinks that possibly it could be, you know, collectible. And I think, you know, I don't know. I mean, again, I don't think two-tones really are, but that's such a beautiful dial that I imagine people might want to get it in the future. So I love the dial, and it's almost worth having the two-tone to get that dial, you know. But it does come at a price. Is the two-tone thing, right? So and I think that's gonna sort of detract from its collectability, because, you know, if you look at Archie's own advice, it's steel, all steel sports Rolexes, right? but again, it fits him and it looks the part. It gives that little bit of bling. And yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a two-tone guy, but the blue is so beautiful on a bluesy that it's almost forgivable. I mean, I if they ever came out with like a bluesy all steel, that's just, I think the internet would explode. That would be amazing. I don't know if it would work. I don't know if they that pop of that color on all steel, I don't know if it would work, but that would be amazing. Will they ever do it? Hell no, they're not going to do that. It's like it would be too popular. It's like Rolex. There's just certain things that Rolex could do that would just, people would go crazy, and it's, people already go crazy for things that aren't even that spectacular. So it's almost like they don't need to do that. That's if ever Rolex gets into trouble, they'll do that. You know, if you ever see that happen, then maybe it means that they need money or something. But yeah, that's probably not going to happen. So anyway, yeah, he's got a great collection, 5 Rolexes. I mean, I would say try to get more into that cream of the crop tier, steel, professional, informational, bezeled watches. You got 1 so far, and you'd have 2 if they weren't two-tone. But if you like the two-tone, cool. But if you're looking at sort of collector's items, I would say if those were steel, I think you'd have more potential there, Archie. I think the Explorer and the Milgauss, very usable. You'll probably always get your money back, but again, I don't think they're just a different tier than that top tier, and for that reason, I don't think they'll ever take off. I don't think people will ever go crazy over those Milgausses. I don't think there's ever going to be like a Milgauss craze, or an Explorer one is just ubiquitous enough that I don't think they're making them still. They're making them still. So yeah, I think you'll retain your money, but I don't think that it's I don't think it's gonna go up like say an old pre-ceramic sea dweller. So yeah, look, I mean the Pontiff, I mean, having a bit of bling works with the Pontiff. It would almost be weird to see him just go straight steel. The Daytona works better with his personality. I mean, it's sort of loud and garish and gaudy, like the character of Archie. So that kind of works. And same with the sub. The sub is great. I gotta say, I do love the sub. So my favorite is probably it's a toss up between the sub and the Explorer 2. The Daytona is amazing because any Daytona is amazing. But while the two-tone Daytona is amazing, the all-steel Daytona is like really amazing. All right, so that would have been worth a little extra. But again, I think he got a huge deal on that, and I think that's how he got that. And the Explorer and the Milgauss are respectable and solid, but nobody's going crazy over them. Probably nobody ever will. All right, I mean, great stuff, and thanks for doing this, Archie. And hey, make a response video if you'd like. And what do you think about what I think? And viewers, what do you think about what I think? Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.